Hi all and welcome to this QGIS Basics session. Hope you're all staying healthy and sane during the lockdown. The original idea of this was to do it as a webinar, but I've ultimately decided to do this as a recording instead. There's two reasons. Firstly, such a huge number of you that have been interested. I'm not entirely convinced that my software and hardware would have been able to support all of you in a webinar at the same time. And also, I kind of forget I'm working from home at the moment, and my internet connection is nowhere near what it is like at work. So, I've done a few webinars recently and had some kind of buffering issues. So, yeah, ultimately decided to do this as a recording. Might also try and do a webinar just to see how it works out, but as a backup, um, yeah, recording this locally and releasing it to you all now. So, must say, we're going to be using QGIS 3.10 for these sessions. Not going to say too much about myself. I'll keep that quite brief. So I am a consultant ecologist. I work for a company called Tyler Grange. I have their full blessing and support for these sessions, not seen as a conflict of interest to the business. And I'm also using some of their resources to actually produce these sessions as well. So I feel they do deserve a mention. So let's get started then. Our first lesson is going to be all about setting up QGIS, looking at the general environment of the program, and also looking at the options and settings that can be useful to you. So let's open QGIS. So it may, when you open QGIS for the first time, it may look a little bit like this. It may not look exactly like this because I've rearranged some of my menus and toolbars. So the best way to get everyone looking similar is to start a new project. Well, just go project new, and that'll clear off anything from the screen. That was a welcome screen that shows you kind of past projects and also some news from the people at the QGIS project. So this is our main mapping area, the big white expanse there at the moment. On the left here we have a panel which we can pull out of there, have it free floating, dock it off onto the side, put it anywhere we want basically. You can get access to additional panels by right clicking on any of the toolbars. Should say these up at the top, these are toolbars. If you right click here, you get panels and toolbars pop up. You can basically just tick to open and close those. Same with the toolbars. Got a series of different ones open here. If I turn that one on and then turn it back on, you can pull these out again. You can have them free floating around here, dock them off to the side, combine them basically however you want it. I'll just drop that back up there. You can also, if you've got multiple panels open, let's just create a new one here. Sometimes they open as tabs. You can grab one of those tabs and undock it. And if you drop it back on top of an existing panel, it'll put it into this tabbed format as it opened up. I'll just get rid of that one because I don't particularly want advanced digitizing. So, you have two lots of options and settings for QGIS. Settings and options shows you the global options for the whole program. Some of them can be quite useful to have a little bit of a play with and a change. So when that welcome page came up at the start, you can change that to the most recent project, a specific designated project that you want to open, or just a new project each time, and it'll create a blank window. I generally have it set up as new. I just changed it to welcome page because that's what most people will have when they open up for the first time today. Let's have a little browse through these options to see if there's any other useful ones that you're going to want to be changing. System, I've minimized all these in advance because there's nothing in there that I would recommend you be changing. CRS, which stands for Coordinate Reference System, is something very important for QGIS. I'm not going to go into coordinate reference systems. I have done a separate video on this that's on the YouTube channel at the moment. So if you're unfamiliar with coordinate reference systems, I recommend you give that a little bit of a watch. All of the work that we're going to be doing today will be solely in the British National Grid coordinate reference system, and that's what the majority of work that I personally do myself, obviously being an ecologist in Great Britain. So coordinate reference systems for project, you can set it up so that there's a default. I set it up for British National Grid. If you want to change that, the drop down generally has the ones that you've selected in the past, so if you can't see it in there, press this button here, search for British National Grid, pop up here, also known as EPSG 27700. So double click on that. I just need a single click actually. Press OK. Then any new project that is loaded, created in QGIS, will have this as its default coordinate reference system. For creating new layers, I always have it set up as prompt for CRS. Most of the time, you will be creating layers just in the British National Grid coordinate reference system, but there are exceptions when you may be putting something different into your project. Say you're bringing in data from a GPS handset or a set of GPS coordinates. So that's it for there. Data sausage rendering. Canvas and Legend, so you can change the default background color to anything you want. Also, when you're selecting features, they'll highlight in a transparent yellow color. You can change that to whatever you want. You can spin the wheel for different colors, and then within each color you can change to different kind of tones and hues. You can also make it more or less transparent. I'm going to have to remember to cancel this when I come out because I don't particularly want that colour. I want a yellow one. I want a transparent yellow. There we go. Double click action in Legend. This will make more sense once we start working, either opening properties, attribute table, or styling. I have it set as properties, but for a while I've been saying I want it to be attribute table, so I'm going to change that now. Map tools. Main one in here is your measurements, the units that you're actually using to when you make measurements of area and length and angle. You can change what that's actually measured in. Sometimes you may want to change the area, or if you're measuring larger things, you might want to change that. Default colors, digitizing. You can change your rubber band colors. Again, this will make more sense later when I show you exactly what a rubber band is. You've got default snapping options. Again, we'll cover snapping. Vertex markers. I like to show the vertices for all features. Again, that'll be something that makes more sense later. I'll try to remember to point out what that is. I don't believe there are any other useful options in here that you'd want to fiddle with at the moment. So we'll cancel that. I'll go back to my original yellow selection color then as well. So that's the options for the main program. You then have properties for the specific project that you're working in, and they can override the options that are used in the actual main project properties. So again, we've got a selection and background color. You've got how files are actually saved in terms of relative or absolute file paths. Again, you've got units of distance and area measurements. Coordinate reference system for the project. That should be British National Grid, which it is. Just make sure. Default styles. I generally don't work with any default styles. Default opacity. So that basically is how transparent the layers are as you load them in. Data sources. Nothing really left in there. That you'd really want to have a fiddle around on a basic level. So to create a new project, that is the easiest thing to do. Project new. That's all you have to do to start a new project. I'm going to discard the last one. To then save this project, that's a little bit different though. Project and save. And then it'll give you the option to save that. Create a new folder. This is where it's going to store all the files. Give the project a name. There are then two options, QGZ or QGS. So QGZ is the new project format standard for any QGIS project above 3, any version of QGIS above 3.1. So in 3.10, that's what it would default to. .qgs is basically the old project format that would be still compatible with all old versions. So for now, while some people that I'm working with maybe still be using an old version of QGIS, I'm just going to keep on using QGIS for now until I know that everyone is working on QGZ type files, because that may cause issues. So if we save that, we go to our desktop. This is our folder where we've saved that in. We'll basically have our new QGIS project there. And that is a .qgs. And that is the very basics on setting up a new QGIS project. Our next step, obviously we're not going to stop there, is base maps.